Hey guys, welcome back to another tutorial. Today in today's video we're going to learn how to make this basic corset with yoke, and the yoke has a keyhole neckline with a basque waist. If that is what you want to learn how to make for yourself, then keep watching this video to the very end and let's head straight to it. So firstly, we'll be starting with our basic bodice front. Okay, from your shoulder to your waist, I have my neckline, I have my side bust dart, my waist dart. Okay, and then my my bust line, waistline, and of course from the shoulder to the hip line. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do now is to get the midpoint of my shoulder, and then I'm going to be using a ruler to connect that point to my bust point. So at this point, this is what your pattern should look like. The next thing I'm going to do is to get my bust circumference, which is distance between my bust point to my under bust. Now my own is 3 inches. I'm going to be putting my tape on 3 inches at my bust point, then take it round. If you have a compass, you know the way we use compass, you can use your compass with your pencil, get 3 inches of length, put the tip of the compass at your bust point, and then take it round with your pencil. You're doing this to get a guide of what your full bust is, because you can decide to use this pattern without an already made bra cup. So you're trying to do this to get what your full cup is. Now after that, you're going to be contouring your under bust. To contour your under bust, you have to mark 1 inch apart from the under bust at the bust apart line. 1 inch apart at the other bust line from the bust apart. I hope that makes sense. Then you connect that contour line from the bust point to the under bust, then to the waistline. At this point, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please consider subscribing. Click the bell notification icon so you'll be notified whenever I post lovely tutorials like this. You can also go ahead and check other videos that I've posted on the channel. Thank you. Also, do want to share this video to other sewing platforms where you feel they will be needed. Thank you. So on my chest line, I'll be going up by 1 inch. You can decide to go up by ½ inch. Remember, the more you come lower, the more you review your cleavage. So you want to put that into consideration. Then I'll go in by 0.25 inches. And now following that bust circumference that I marked, you're trying to be artistic here. Check the shape of what you're recreating and then start drawing your cup to look like the shape of what you're recreating. If you have another cup in mind, draw your cup to look like that one also. Just be artistic here. Make sure you're following your lines. Even if you're not on the exact line, you might not really be too far from it. Maybe 0.2 inches, 0.5 inches or thereabout. Just make sure you're kind of in line with it. And make sure your bra cup, you're drawing it well. Because the way you draw it is the way your bra cup will look like. So I've gone ahead to draw mine, and as you can see, it's looking good already. Now for that keyhole neckline, I'm going to be starting from this tip of my neckline. Now that very tip of my neckline is like the basic neckline, okay? The basic neckline like you want to make a shirt. From that point where we started the corset, I went upwards by 0.5 inches so that I can start from this tip and end it, curve it in to that 0.5 inches point. Can you see what it looks like? Be sure you don't go so much inwards in the curve. We did not contour this, so do not overdo it so it doesn't gap. So I'll be marking accessories showing that I'll be cutting out this part. At this point, this is what your pattern should look like. Now the next thing I'm going to do is from my waistline, I'm coming down by 2 inches. And then with my ruler, I'm connecting that 2 inches point to the tip of my center front at my hip line so that I can get that basque waistline. At this point, this is what your pattern should look like. Now I'll go ahead to cut out the keyhole neckline where the yoke is. You want to cut carefully according to what you've drawn. Like I said, whatever you've drawn and the way you cut it is what the shape of whatever you're doing will look like. So you want to be very careful while drawing the shape and also while cutting. So you cut exactly what you've drawn. And while drawing, you want to make sure you draw so that when you look at it from when you're looking at your pattern, you see that what you've drawn is actually okay. Whatever you draw is the way your cup is going to come out. And be sure that you cut it out well on your fabric. So you want to take your time. Please, if you haven't subscribed at this point, do want to subscribe once again. Click the bell notification icon so you can get notified whenever I post lovely tutorials, okay? And also do want to share this video to other sewing platforms where they are needed. Thank you. So I've gone ahead to detach the cup part of it and we'll work on the cup. Of course, what we are going to do now is to cut out the dart. But before I do that, I would love to come down by 1 inch. I'm going to show you people what I'm going to do now to the cup. So using my tape, I'm going to come down by 1 inch and also up by 1 inch. This is to enable me have that curved look. This is a two-piece corset. So I was thinking that this actual thing I'm doing now is going to help me have that very curved feminine look and make your corset stand very well. So I had to do this and then I redrew the dart starting from that 1 inch point. But make sure your dart leg is the same thing. That leg, I mean, the part of the underbust is still the same thing. The only part affected is the part pointing towards the bust point to give a whole fullness. I hope you understand from what you see me doing. So I went ahead to cut it out entirely. Then we'll go ahead now to close our side bust dart. So after I was done taping it down, you can see I have my two-piece corset now, okay? At this point, you can go ahead and label or smoothen out whatever part you want to smoothen out. So here is my two-piece corset, okay? You have to transfer this to your fabric, mark your notches, and then sew. So we'll move over to the bodice and continue. Now this part I'm cutting is the side bust dart that went into the bodice. Okay, so we also have to close it because we closed that of the corset. We'll go ahead to close it. So at this point you can detach this part. Okay, and of course you have to detach it so it can be easy for you to sew. The next thing I'm going to do is to go ahead and cut out this part. So I'm going ahead now to remove my dart. Of course, you have to cut out your dart. And then after cutting out the dart, the next thing I'm going to do is you want to place this like this. You can decide to sew it separately, that's no problem. But I would really love you place it this way. You see the way that hip part is overlapping each other is going to help with snatching, waist snatching, and also the snatching of that hip part. So I recommend this other than sewing it. So for your boning, you can just place it on top of it, okay? For your boning, you can just sew your bias on top of it and place your boning. I highly recommend you use this method. So you see that part now, we're going to chew it and cut it out. So of course you'll be cutting your center front unfold and you put your bias for your boning and also the next part where there is boning. And this is what your front should look like. Okay, this is what the front should look like. So we'll also go ahead to cut the back part of it. Though I did not see the back, but I assume this is what the back should look like. So let's cut the back. Now you have your back bodice. So from the chest line of my back, I'll go ahead and mark 1.5 inches. Now, the back is going to have this modest panel or modesty panel for a corset. And that is why I'm marking this 1.5. Sorry, the 1.5 inches is actually where I'm going to be cutting out for our corset. Okay, so you want to mark 1.5 inches and then you go ahead and roll it or join the dots together. Now from that 1.5 inches point, okay, before I go into that, I'm going to mark in same 2 inches I used for my waist. Same thing I did for the front to get the basque waistline. I'm also going to be doing it for the back. But at this point, I feel like it's not really necessary for the back to have a basque waist. You can just make your back, curvy, but make sure the 2 inches align at the, what is it called? At the side. Make sure the 2 inches align at the side. So I marked another 1 inch, like so. So I'm going to be tracing out from this point, like I'm going to be tracing out the whole of is now 2.5 inches. I'm going to be tracing it out. So like I said, it would be best if your back does not have a basque waist. If you can just get the 2 inches at the waist and then have a curved hem at the back. Just make sure that the sides are in alignment, the 2 inches of the side. So you can just have your center back whichever way you want it, okay? But if you want to still go in with the basque, it's okay. But I feel like the basque at the front and at the back will be too much. All right, though that was what I did here, but I later figured it's going to be too tacky to have basque at the front and at the back. Or maybe there is something like that. So you can just, if you want it this way, but just in case you don't want it this way, you can do what I said. You can just curve it out. Make sure the side, the 2 inches at the side, front and back aligns. So I'm done tracing out that part. Now you know that your center back for this yellow pattern, you're going to be cutting it on fold. That's the modesty panel you're going to be putting when you're lacing your corset. So now this very 1.5 inches point that I'm cutting out is actually the part where we do not need for the back. So we can actually snatch our waist for the corset. So the yoke of the back is going to be having a sort of what's it called? The yoke of the back is going to be having sort of um a keyhole also, but it's optional. It's optional. Now from the center point of my shoulder, I came down by 3 inches. I'm going to be squaring the line on that. I'm supposed to come in from my center back, so I had to bring this back. So I'll explain what I did now. I came down by 3 inches from the midpoint of my shoulder, and from my center back, I marked 3 inches, which is my bust apart measurement. And I ruled a line from there to meet the chest line. And then from there, I ruled another line to meet the waist, which is actually the contour for the back. I went ahead to separate the yoke from the main bodice, and that little dart that went into the yoke, I'll just be folding it in. If you cannot fold it in and your pattern will still lay flat, you have to eliminate it from the side. So I'll go ahead to cut out the dart for the back. So you can sew this up, or you can also put it together like we did for the front. Remember to cut that yellow paper or yellow pattern on fold. The center back should be on fold. And this is what your patterns should look like. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.